Hi there everyone, welcome back up into the loft here with Wayard, and today I'm going to be looking at a product that's been recommended to me by a few of you, and I was quite intrigued by these. It's a DCC chip, but at a really quite keen price, and I was quite interested to take a look, and I'm sure you are too. So without further ado, let's delve in. Over the last few weeks, quite a few of you have been asking me about a product called Lais DCC. Now it's spelled L-A-I-S DCC. And these are chips that appear to be being sold quite cheaply through internet retail sites such as a well-known internet search auction site, eBay. But I was quite intrigued by these. I hadn't actually heard of them before. I've been buying a lot of my chips through regular retailers, and they can be quite expensive. I know I've extolled the virtues of, for example, the Hornby 4-pin DCC chip, available from a number of retailers for as low as £12, but these were even cheaper, and more substantially they include all of the 21-pin, the 8-pin, the 6-pin and the next 18 decoders, and they all seem to be for quite a reasonable flat rate price of £9.95 plus postage. And of course, if you buy multiples, the postage is not going up, so it really did seem a great value for money. But are they worth it? Well, I thought I'd put them to the test for you guys, just so that you could see what they really like to use in the flesh, so to speak. So I put in an order and they arrived pretty quickly. And I'm going to show you a couple here. Probably very difficult to film through the silver bag, so I'm going to take them out. I thought I would try the 21-pin and the 6-pin DCC chips. Now, these can be quite expensive, especially the 6-pin decoders. For some reason, they seem very expensive, but these cost me £9.95. And I was wondering when they turned up whether they were going to be obvious clones of another manufacturer's design. But so far, they don't look like any others that I've particularly seen. So I'm just going to get them both out of the bag here so we can actually take a good close look at them. Now, as I said before, they also do the 8-pin decoders, they do the next 18 decoders, but I've gone for these because I've got a lot of locomotives that need the 6-pin and the 21-pin, and the sources that I've been getting them from were in some cases more than double what I've paid for these. So really excited to put these to the test. So if we take a good look at them, they don't actually look like any other brand of chips that I'm familiar with. So I was interested to see if they were going to be clones, but at this stage it doesn't look to me like they're straight clones, although obviously quite difficult to see what's going on beneath this heat shield. And actually it is quite good that they come heat shielded like this. It's something which some chips I've always been a bit suspicious of, that, you know, it's very easy to have little shorts if that chip should touch something like the metal chassis of the locomotive or make contact with some of the solder points on the circuit board. So they're nicely presented. They've got these extra wires which I think are for putting on things like stay alive capacitors, that kind of thing. For some reason from the 6-pin there's only one wire coming out of that, so I'd probably have to read the instructions if there were any instructions came with it. But you've got to remember, they came for a really good price. You can probably look up some more details online if you really need it, but generally speaking these things are plug and play. Now the 6-pin decoder, you can see there, says on it Lais DCC, and we've got a little star, and that is, I'm assuming, is going to be the pin 1, and that's obviously important when we come to put it in the locomotive. The 21-pin, if I turn it over, possibly a little bit difficult to see, but on the back you can see that one of these rows of pinholes extends one pin further than the other, and that's your locating pin. So it really is easy to add these to the locomotives. You just see where that missing pin is, and that corresponds with the blanking on the board itself. So let's get on and actually test fit these to locomotives and just see what they do when we energize them up, power them up. You know, do they do what they're supposed to do? So let's take a look. So I've already gone ahead and I fitted one of the 21-pin chips into this. It's a Helgen Class 128 diesel parcels unit. 21-pin chassis. It was pretty easy, standard. Take the body off and put the chip in the right way around once you've removed the blanking plug. And I'm pretty pleased with this actually. I've had no issues whatsoever setting this up. So I've gone ahead, I've programmed up the locomotive and let's see what we can get to work. Now, first of all, let's turn the lighting on. So this is the directional control light. I've turned it on and you'll see at either end. We've got the white light turning up there, and if I change the direction, the red light, white light. So the lighting works. And I'm going to go ahead, because the Helgen locomotives tend to make a lot of features of the different lighting functions. So I'm going to go ahead and press some of the F keys and see what happens. So I press F1, and as you can see, the cab light actually at this end has lit up. So I press F1 again, off, on, off. Now let's try F2, see, yeah, we get the other end. It's F2, so anything on F3, nothing on F3. The only potential issue I have is that with the Gagemaster Prodigy Express 2 controller, F2 doesn't latch. So if I press F2 and then take my finger off it, it immediately turns back off. But that's not really the fault of the chip. That's something that I'm going to need to program, I think. But so far I'm actually pretty happy. It's handling a lot of the functions. Now, most locomotives don't really make use of these extra functions, so I'm pretty pleased with that. Now, of course, let's see how she works running. And actually, just fine whatsoever. And there's actually straight plugged in good speed control. One of the things you sometimes find with putting in a brand of decoder that's not necessarily made by the same manufacturer as the locomotive is that you can end up with jerky running. But that's not the case in this. The Lais DCC decoder seems perfectly happy actually with this locomotive. So there we go. 21-pin chip seems to be working just fine. So can I recommend it? Well, yes, at that price, certainly so far, what I've seen and what I've tested, there is absolutely nothing wrong with these chips. And for £9.95, that is a really keen price. So, yes, I'm going to be getting some more of these, I think. But I did get also the 6-pin decoder. And I'm going to give that a test as well, because there's a lot of locomotives, in particular from Bachmann, that use the 6-pin decoder. So, first up, I've picked the Aspinall 242 radial tank. It's one of quite a few different locomotives that Bachmann do that takes a 6-pin chip. And to get at that, we just need to take the bunker and cab roof off. It's a pretty easy thing, just held on by 2 screws, and you can see there that we've got the basic chip holder. Pin 1, we've got the start, and I can already see one potential problem creeping in, and that is the size of the Lais DCC decoder. So if I just match this up, I can see immediately this is too big to fit in this locomotive. Now, that's going to restrict us a little bit. So, first impressions, a bit on the big side, but we do get this a lot. That's one of the reasons I dislike 6-pin decoders, because there seems to be so much variety in the size of the decoders, and the manufacturers are not at all generous with the space that they give us. So, I think we've fallen at the first hurdle there. You can see there it is so much bigger than the blanking plate, and when matching it up, I can see that the back of this is going to foul on the side of the bunker. So, yeah, we I'm not going to be able to make that work. So, first test, it wouldn't fit into the Bachmann Aspinall radial tank. Now, I've also had trouble fitting other chips into that. I've tried the Hatton's own DCC chip, and that wouldn't fit as well. It's a really tight space. So I've picked out at random 2 further 6-pin locomotives to check out. We've got another Bachmann locomotive in the terms of the USA dock tank, but first up I've got the Daypole/Kernow Model Rail Centre BT well tank. It's a really lovely small locomotive and it's got a very innovative design. So I'm just going to try and get that so you can film that. But the smoke box door, there's no need to dismantle the chassis. I think this is a really great design. It's just held on by magnets. So that smoke box door comes out. We can just put that to one side and you can see in there what we've actually got. If I just very carefully tease it out. We've got a decoder socket on the end of like a wiring loom. And you can see on there a really small blanking plate. Now, I'm not even going to bother taking that blanking plate out. What I am going to do is see whether this chip physically will fit into the space that's inside there. So just move that to one side. I'm just going to push that back in and boom. The pins are hitting the back. There is a little bit more room to the side. I think that's going to be a really tight fit, it has to be said. So we could experiment with that. But what I first want to do is see on this USA dock tank how well it would fit in there. And then we're going to come back and we'll test fit it in there and see if it will actually fit. But on the dock tank, it's just 2 screws that we undo. The entire top lifts off. And you can see there we've got the blanking plate. So I'm just going to offer up that, and that's going to be a tight fit, but it does look as though this is going to fit in there. So I'm going to try this in both of these. So let's have a look. Pin 1's to the right hand side as you look at the socket. And I think actually there's going to be plenty of space in this model. So let me just see if I can line that up, push it in. Certainly, yeah. It's a perfect fit into this model. So what I'm actually going to do, rather daring, I'm going to put it on the track. And because I haven't programmed this, it should be just loco number 3. And there you have it. That really is just, there you go. I've just thrown that into that locomotive and it works perfectly. So Lais DCC, perfect fit for the Bachmann USA dock tank. Now what I want to do here is I want to see whether it fits in the BT well tank as well. And as I've only bought one of these, I'm going to pull that back out. And let's see now. Right, very carefully, I'm going to pull that out. And I'm going to put that into its place. Now, this is going to be the tricky bit. I think if we want this to fit into this locomotive, what we're going to have to do, first of all, I know, I'm just going to call me daring, but I'm not using this wire, so oops, it just fell off. And I'm going to see whether it is possible to fit this into this locomotive. Now that is a very tight fit. You know, I don't think it is. I'm looking in there. Theoretically, it should fit in, but there's no space to actually manoeuvre it. Oh no, it does also fit in the BT well tank. Well, I wasn't actually expecting that, but if you fiddle around, let's just get the smoke box door back on. As you can see, it just clips in with magnets. I really love that design. Now, daring do. I wouldn't recommend this approach, it has to be said, but there we go. Still on number 3. And that actually works really well. There's a reasonable smoothness, I guess, to the control. It leaps away from quite a low power. So I'm going to reprogram it so it's just got a slightly more gentle power uptake curve. But on the face of it, Lais DCC decoder, 6-pin decoder, can I recommend it? Yes, I can. Just seen online people posting about the Lais DCC chips. It's pure coincidence that I've just bought these at the point I'm seeing a number of posts, people saying that they've gone pop on them. So I thought, what better way to put this to the test than to stress test one of the locomotives that I've fitted the chip to. So this has got the Lais DCC 21-pin chip, which you saw in the video being fitted to it. So it's got the lid back on. You can see the lights are on and running. And just to give it a little bit of a tail load, there's 3 Bachmann birdcage coaches on there. So here we go. I'm going to get it running and leave it running. See what happens. At the end of the day, it's under warranty. If it can't cope just ordinarily running, then clearly goes back under warranty. But you know, for the price, we've got to check these things out, and I do this so that you don't have to. So it's quite a weight in one of the Helgen Class 128 parcel units, with a bit of tail load as well. Then that pretty much gives us reasonable indication of a moderate train. Got the lights on it. I might turn the cab lights on as well. You know, stress test it just a little bit. I'm going to leave it running, give it 15-20 minutes, and then I'm going to take the lid off and just see what's going on with the actual DCC decoder that's in there. I'll check and see if it's got really hot or anything like that, and just basically give you some feedback on this with any luck. So I'm going to get back on with what I was doing before, and I'm just going to leave that running. Well, I did the full stress test and ran it faster than I would normally run a train. I ran it with a tail load. It's also quite a heavy locomotive, so there's quite a bit of weight going on there. I just left it to run for 20-25 minutes, and then I tested it. It was still running just fine. There was no problems whatsoever. I'd had all the lights on as well. And it was warm, but not so warm that you couldn't touch the chip. And the only thing that I can think of with these chips is that there's no thermal cutout, perhaps. So if you overload the locomotive, for example, if it stalls or you have an excessive tail load or trying to run it too fast, that could cause some difficulties. But also, if you have it stuffed inside a locomotive where there's no room for the heat to be able to dissipate out, so it's sort of just squashed in, heavily insulated, then it could overheat as well. But they're just my thoughts. My experience of this chip is that it does seem to work pretty fine with everything that I throw at it. Well, I hope that was informative to you. Don't forget to share this video, like it too, and also subscribe to the channel if you've not already done so. And ring that bell. And if YouTube deems you worthy enough, it may actually tell you when the new videos go up. I know a lot of people have been having some issues with that. But it's been really good to have your company up here, and I hope you've enjoyed this. And stay tuned for more videos from Weir Yard coming up over, well, in the future. And until next time, you take really good care of yourself, and I hope to see you back here. Bye for now. Today's video has been brought to you in part thanks to the generous donation of my fans on Patreon. And an extra special huge thanks goes out to Anthony Kidson, Michael Churchwood, Bob Threeton, Alec Ralph, Anthony Hunt, William Wade, Wayne Johns, Offshore Allen, and oorail.co.uk. If you'd like to help support the show, head on over to patreon.com/Jennifer Kirk. Thank you. Today's video has been brought to you by my books, Bringing Home the Stars, Twinkle Little Star, and also you can get the complete comic collections of All Over the House, Books 1, Books 2, and also the wacky zany Life of Knobty Mouse. Thanks, and catch you later.